Joyfully Empowered is about feeling uplifted, inspired, and connected to your intuition. This is a place where dreams are possible, cups are half full, and community is solid. Topics include spirituality, leadership, feminine wealth, intuition, manifestation, and our sacred work. This is where bold self-starters come to refill their je ne sais quoi to continue spreading a little magic to the world. I am Stephanie Vershow, a spicy Latina, mom, mystic, and relentless about people achieving their dreams by following their intuition while igniting their feminine wealth. Welcome, everybody, to Joyfully Empowered. I am so excited to be here with an incredible guest. If this is the first time you're listening to this, I always want to remind you all that I'm recording live from New York City. So we may get some hunks and all kinds of things in the background, and we're gonna welcome it all to the fabric of this conversation. So a couple months ago, maybe a few months ago now, I met this incredible woman at a comedy club. One of my really good friends, Melissa, she's like, Steph, she's a mom, our daughters are besties, and she's like, let's go have some fun and do like a mom's girls night out. And to be honest, I had not gone out past 7:30 in a really long time. But I love Melissa. We always have a good time together. It was time. So we went there, and her cousin, which is my guest today, Moonie, was performing. She had brought together this incredible group of humans, and we laughed so hard. I got home like past midnight. I felt that I was like back in college in this really fun comedy club in the Lower East Side. And anyways, Moonie and I connected right away. So let me tell you all about this incredible woman. And today we're gonna have a good time together. So I want us to welcome Moonie Desvarieux. She is a Haitian American lawyer turned stand-up comedian, TV and film writer and actor. She has been seriously, and I love this, is in her bio, she has been seriously cultivating her craft since June of 2021. During this time, she has opened, listen to this, for Dale Hewley, Bog the Drag Queen, and Peppermint. She has also made the finals in Saturday Night Live's Kenan Thompson's national comedy competition. And she has performed several times in the New York Comedy Festival, the New York Queer Comedy Festival, and the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Festival. I mean, like, there is things like it's such an honor to be. And, you know, as you're listening to this, Moonie, I have a couple more things to share. Sometimes it's so nice to receive and be like,
Yeah,
right. I have
exactly
done
what I
all of this.
100%. Like that's just like
Yeah.
in my head. I'm like, holy
Yes.
night person.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Hmm.
Like what? Like
This is me.
yeah. Like sometimes I don't even recognize myself to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the transition. That's the
It's
work.
a journey.
It's a
It's
journey.
the work.
Yeah.
You also co-wrote the screenplay Baby Mama with your sister. I love that. Sister and creative partner, Jess Desvarieux. And this movie was a finalist in Stage 32nd Best Comedic Screenplay competition. And it was also selective to partake in TIFF's 2024 Inside Out Finance Forum, which, by the way, it was also pitched to major executives at Netflix, Neon, and A24,
Mhm.
just to name a few. Like, I'm getting chills as I say this.
Yeah.
Moonie is also the co-creator and lead actor in the award-winning web series Moonie, which is the Black queer version of Seinfeld, which we love.
Yeah.
And Moonie has also been selected and screened in over 15 national and international film festivals. Last but not least, you've also been nominated for a 2023 Queerties Award for Best Web Series. Moonie, welcome to Joyfully Empowered.
Thank you so much for having me. What an incredible introduction. I mean, again, like I don't even sometimes I don't even recognize myself. I'm just like, who is this person that you're speaking of? Oh my God,
Is
it's
this
me.
me? Is this me?
This
Come
what?
again?
What?
Moi?
What?
So we're going to talk a little bit about a lot today, right? When we were connecting last week, and just to get clear on what is the message from this conversation, we realized that we have so much in common, and it's going to be fun. And we also want to talk about like real life stuff, you know? So it's a tone of like humor, heart, grief, right? Comedy, and ultimately like betting on yourself, which is
Or
a similarity that we've both had in our
big
journey
theme.
to be like, wait a minute, I'm gonna come back to me.
Yeah, big theme.
Um, so let's start with how does a waitress at Friendly become a comedian, which really with the purpose of rebuilding Haiti? I know it's like a lot, but we're gonna start
Yeah,
in your Friendly, waitressing days and how really that created a foundation for so much of where you are today.
that's wonderful. Wow, you brought me back. I was like, I thought we were going to
Listen,
start.
girl, we're getting in.
We went back to like mini Moonie, like before. Oh gosh. Okay, so let's take us back to like when I'm like 19, trying to figure out my life. Like I have a single mom. My mom, Jessie, three daughters, three of us. I'm the eldest of three. And I had to stay back from school because she had two of us in college, so she couldn't afford both of us concurrently at for like, my sister Jess had to start. She went to Wellesley, I went to Ithaca College. And so I had to take a semester off, and I was working at Friendly's as a waitress. And I have a great story about when I served DMX.
Stop.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. I gotta bring it on stage.
Please.
Let me get a fribble. Uh, yeah. So so there's one night I'm hanging out with my friend at the time, Lauren Knight, and I'm just being myself, and she's cracking up, and she's just like, "You should have your own TV show." And the seed was planted in that moment, and I was like, "Huh." And at the time, Ellen was on, and she was really big, and I've always loved her. And I was like, I can do that. Like, I want to do that. Like, that's why I'm doing all of the comedy, and we're casting a wide net with like TV shows, films, like working on those, writing them, creating proofs of concepts with an actual show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big destination, is being the number one TV talk show host in America.
Hell yes. Speak it into existence.
Yeah. And the big why that's driving this engine is my sister and I are both on board with this, is we want to build schools and hospitals in our late mother's name. Want to create jobs, right? Build a
Yeah.
factory. Eventually with I love fashion, and so I would love to have my brand, the Moonie brand, things made in Haiti, creating jobs, you
Mm.
know, having Haiti be more self-sufficient, independent, and elevating the pride of the people, the self-respect of such a wonderful people who deserve to be celebrated, who deserve to have that level of self-respect and independence and self-reliance given our
Mm-hmm.
history, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so here it is. I'm a waitress. I wasn't really good at school. Like there's so much stuff going on in my life with my parents' divorce, and just you know being like so insecure. Like I was
Mm.
incredibly shy. People think like, you were shy. I was like, yes, I was dangerously shy as a child. And sometimes I can't believe I'm like getting on stage trying to make strangers laugh, like this little
I've seen that part of you though. I like sniffed out that part of you.
yeah,
I think when we were leaving the show and we were walking to that restaurant, that bar, whatever it was, like a bunch of
yeah,
people ended up going after.
yeah,
And we had like briefly met a couple weeks before that. But I just that energy of like that shyness or that part of it, like let me, because I remember being like that was so good and wow, like you just are coming out alive on stage and da da da. And it was just like a such a tender, it was almost like little Mooney, being like,
yeah,
oh, like I'm getting chills as I say this. Like it was just like a beautiful moment of like, yeah, I'm doing this, and like really appreciating. And I hope
yeah,
you never lose that.
yeah,
I think sometimes when you see artists getting like bigger and bigger, sometimes they tend to like, life. But I hope you always stay in touch with like little Mooney and that part of her that was shy and you were able
oh, yeah,
to allow her to come out and also be super big because you're big on stage and your personality is just big. But
Yeah.
there's also like this tenderness of shyness within you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely like a Toyota hybrid, right? Like a Prius, right? I'm definitely introverted, extroverted for sure. And thank you so much for saying that, and I will definitely keep that close to my heart, and will definitely honor that. And I agree with you. It's important to honor, the little versions of ourselves. And Yeah, so thank you for saying that. I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So meeting people, your friend planted the seed. It
yeah,
was clearly a purpose on earth because this, the gift came through your friend and it landed and it immediately like anchored and clicked, like, okay, yes, like how do I make that happen?
right.
And within that time, I know that you are a lawyer. So at some point, the seat stayed, but the tract kind of, you made
Yeah.
a big left, right? So how did you ended up in law school and sort of like still nurture that comedy within you?
So I came out to my mom around 25. So and so she always wanted me to be a doctor, lawyer. Haitians are like the black Jews. You only get two options. You'd be like doctor, lawyer. That's it. So, or like third option is like outcast, right? So I was like, damn, I don't want to be outcasted. So I came out to her and I was like, shit, I got to give her something. So I was like, let me go to law school. I get to make up for, coming out like being a lesbian. I'm like, oh, the disappointment. And I was like, oh, I'm going to law school. She's like,
But
oh,
I'll go to school.
great. So bounces out. Lesbian, law school, like, you're gonna be a lawyer. All right, cool, fine, you're good.
Fine, I still
I don't have
accept
to
you.
worry
I
about
will not.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be the lesbian lawyer. You'll be fine.
Double L.
Double L.
Uh,
Right. Um.
so
So
law school begins, and you're
law
like, all
school,
right, my mom's
yeah.
happy.
Right.
I
My
will still
mom's
follow my
happy.
path.
Right. And so I'm like, but I knew I was like, always loved entertainment. I always loved the arts. Although I didn't grow up that way, but it was just something that was innate in me. Sports, I grew up playing sports, basketball, tennis, softball. So like always was sports oriented, sports conscious. And so I was like, okay, I could be a sports agent, I could be a deal maker, right? That's what my vision was like with law school. Like that I was very focused. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. And until I became an artist, I realized that my desire to become an entertainment lawyer was that I was essentially a shadow artist, right? Shadow
Mm.
artists are really the ones behind the scenes, but they really want to be in front of the camera. And that there are a lot of people in the industry who are shadow artists. They could be producers, lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
directors, right, writers, but they're playing themselves small.
Yeah, that's what I was going. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and doing a disservice to the gift, to the craft by doing so. But we all have our journeys, and that this was my journey. My journey was I had to go to law school and become a defense litigator on behalf of insurance companies, working for the man, which is like the antithesis of me and my brand.
Moonie, that's heavy.
Yeah, so I'll do anything for a check. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But close to anything. But it's survival, and for me, I look at being a lawyer as I call it my dream funder.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it helps you shift your perception around it, and s-
Mm-hmm.
and so that like people are like, oh, don't aren't you annoyed having to go to work? I'm like, no, I'm happy to go to work because I know that this is helping me fund my dream.
A
Um,
hundred
go
percent. That's
about
always just like a healthy perspective,
yeah,
of like, I thought the same thing too when I was in corporate. I was like, okay, L'Oreal is just funding for me to go to coaching school, for me to then get my bonus. Then I had like a nice little cushion when I quit my corporate job. So once you shifted from like, oh, I can't do anything, it's like I'm still building my craft, I'm still following my purpose, I'm still doing what I love. But
right.
we live in a society where finances and money are critical to
Real.
survive. So yeah.
And also, like, to be a creative, like, these things have to be taken care of. You can't create when you're in a heavy space spiritually. At least I can't.
Same.
Like, if you're stressing about your bills or how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is, like, you want to take an acting class, you want to take a comedy class, like, you want to be able to have the mean. like it's hard to create in these heavy when spaces emotionally,
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
right. I'm
Mhm.
very fortunate. I'm very blessed that I finally can look back and be like, wow, God, like you really set this up really nicely. And my mom had so much to do that because she was always in my ear. Go get a license, go to the license, become a lawyer, doctor, whatever, like do and so I'm truly grateful to her. I really am.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
being on top
So
of me.
while you, I think it was while you were in law school or maybe after, you have mentioned that it's your late mom, so we know she passed. And in while we were connecting, I started crying on the call with you because I have my mom so present. I always say I have two moms, my angel mom and my earth mom.
Yeah,
And we both agree, we're like, our moms like brought us together. These
100%.
angels were like, y'all need to connect. Like there's things in the world for you to do together.
Yeah,
So my mom passed when I was a baby. And I always say, look, it doesn't matter if you're one or if you're, 20 or 50 or 80, like your mom's always gonna be your mom, and that's always gonna be really heavy. But
yeah.
you obviously had years with your mom and her being here on earth and all of that. So when she passed, that period of grief, right? And it was a really hard battle, and it was also very sudden. Knowing, looking back, how are you supporting yourself, and what did her passing ignite in you?
Wow, I can't believe I'm getting like emotional over here. Like,
Yeah.
oh God, it was such a defining moment in my life. It really set the stage for all of this that I'm doing right now. At the time, it was a very challenging time. My mom was my everything.
Yeah.
She was the first person that was close to me who had passed.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was 61 and she had breast cancer. Um, and it was like 10 months from diagnosis till she passed. It was just so quick like that. But at the time it felt like forever because she was just in and out of the hospital. There was just so much going on. At one point she was in remission and that was so wonderful. And that was like in February and then she passed in April of 2015.
Oh,
And it was just such a roller coaster of emotions. Like
yeah.
and I had so much support in my family, close friends, and it was hard to see like Superwoman in such a vulnerable state because that's what
Mm,
I viewed her as Superwoman.
yeah.
Like she made everything happen. She put three daughters in private school, you know,
Wow.
gave us the best life like we could ever ask for, not just in
Hell yeah, mama. Yeah.
just experiences, memories, and just love. She poured so much love into us. I call her Coach Jessie. She was always, I can hear her voice so distinctly because she was always talking to us, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
guru. It was almost like she, I don't know, in a weird way, she knew she was going to pass early, but like, so she was always talking.
Wow. So like you hear her, I mean, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about, we still connect. Like I talk to my mom every day. I'm like, all right, mom, we're doing
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
all right, mama.
Same.
But it's you also literally hear her voice of everything she taught you while she was here on earth.
100%. Like, I don't have any, like, if I'm at a crossroads, I know how she would advise me because I know
Mm-hmm.
I just know how her way of thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her moral compass, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know how she would advise me on any matter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I go with that. I go with my intuition, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a tough time. I so after she passed, I got up to almost 300 pounds. I abused food, alcohol,
Wow, Mooney.
drugs.
Well, also it's the only way, not the only way, it's the main way that we are taught to cope. There
Mhm.
is food, there is alcohol, there's drugs,
Yeah,
and the grief is so intense that you go towards the conditioning. Like you go towards the things that you're supposed to help you feel better.
yeah,
Um so that part, it's like you've come a long way. I know you're a ton into CrossFit and you look amazing. Like, you're not overweight. You're everybody looks amazing no matter their weight, but clearly you've lost a ton of weight, you're super healthy, you
Yeah.
are into CrossFit. But in those moments, it's like those were the things that supported during a
Yeah.
period of grief, you know, that you needed. I
Yeah.
for almost, oh my God, almost 5 years ago, I was before Dylan Joy, which you briefly met. I was pregnant with my first daughter, Nina, and I was like almost 7 months pregnant. I had like the biggest belly, and she ended up transitioning, and
Wow.
I had a miscarriage, and I remember after, you know, after everything was said and done, and the I don't know, the operation, all the things that you do. Um, I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not going to go to drugs. I'm not going to go to drinking because I had done that in a previous grief
Yeah.
experience in my life.
Yeah.
And I just know that's going to come back. But, and for about 7 months, Moonie, I was like a walking zombie. Like I had some days that I was like really happy. I had
Oh,
other days that I was really sad. And sometimes I would go to Dwayne Reed and I would like pay into the cashier and I would like bawl my eyes out. Or I'd be getting coffee and I was just like, Steph, you're gonna cry and you're gonna grieve because I really want to like integrate the grief into my life. And we know that grief never ends. You just know you learn how to coexist with it.
yeah.
But in the moments that you're trying to do your best, you're going to do whatever's easier to not feel, I don't know, to me it's like the most intense pain that you'll ever fear, knowing that this person that I loved is, I'm not going to be able to touch them
Yeah.
anymore. So this journey of grieving for you, of like eating and numbing and all of that, how long did that last? And were you aware that you were in it, or you were just living and you knew, like, you know what I mean, and you were like unconscious through that initial grieving period?
Oh, wow. Okay. So my mom passed April 2015. It lasted until about December of 2018. So it's a long time. I it was a hybrid. Like I get like this hybrid theme. I feel like like it was conscious. I was aware that I was doing it, but I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck. It was almost
Mm,
I was like telling the universe like I like a big F you to the universe.
yeah.
Like and I'm very spiritual. I grew up religious, you know. Um but um at that time like I my relationship with God like turned my back on God completely.
Oh, I hear
Um
you.
I was
Mhm.
just like, you know, and my dad's still alive, healthy and like, you know, and I'm just like why not him? You know?
Mhm.
By her. Like she did everything that she was supposed to do,
Mm.
like made all the sacrifices. Like, how is this a reward, right? Like, not
Mm.
deserving of this. Like all of this, these, these conversations, this inner self talk is going on in my head, and so I, you know, so it was a long time, and then actually a friend of mine, one of my best friends from law school, she was the one who really was like always encouraging me, like, don't turn your back on God, get back with God. And then she ended up passing in June in June of around 2019. And so, and this is my contemporary.
Yeah.
So here it is, my mom lighting the fire on my ass. Like how
Mhm.
like you're gonna die one day. Like
Mhm.
take this seriously. It's not something that we talk about often in Western culture
Mhm.
is death, right? Like I feel like Eastern cultures are more are
Yeah.
better job with that. And I think it does us a disservice because it prevents us from living intentionally. It prevents us from living with urgency.
Mhm.
Prevents us from following our passions that are that whisper that's like, hey, do you want to try acting? You
Yes.
want to try maybe being
Little
a chef?
whispers.
Yeah, like we ignore it
Yeah.
'cause I was on the hamster wheel. I was on the hamster wheel. I was like a sim, right? Remember that game where like a zombie, like just checking it, like just checked out of life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not you gotta ask yourself, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want
Mhm.
to do with your life? We're not here. We're here for a flicker, all of us.
Take responsibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take ownership
Yeah.
of your life. And so, so that's first fire was my mom passing. Second fire was my contemporary passing from cancer too. And I'm just like, holy cow. Like if I ever like and that so that's when I was like off to the races. I was like, I gotta do something. Like I gotta get real
That
serious.
woke you up. That woke you up even more.
100% woke me up even more. Woke me up even more.
Wow.
That that could be me. I mean, people say, "Oh, tomorrow's not promised." Today isn't promised to any of us
Mm-hmm.
at any
Mm-hmm.
age. So yeah, so death, grief has. I always say that my mom's passing breathed new life into me. She literally, I mean, talk about a woman who was so selfless, constantly giving. Even in her passing, she's giving, right? And so, I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, could you have done this if she was alive? You know, and we'll never know. We'll never know because this is my story. This is my journey. And so, you know, that's
It's it's so the more I learn about life or the more people I meet, I've come to realize that in my experience, the people that I meet that are like the happiest or the most joyful or the most appreciative and grateful for life, and on purpose, are tend to be the people that have had death or really intense grieving. And I think it really, as hard as grief and deaths have been in my life and in your life as you're sharing,
yeah,
there's this part that's like, I don't know if it's thank God, but it's like something, right? The gratitude for giving us that appreciation of, okay, I'm gonna understand myself better. I want to understand my emotions better. I want to understand what my purpose is better. I remember saying like years ago when I was single, I want to end up with somebody that has gone through heartbreak
mm,
because they understand love differently. Like if you've never gone through heartbreak and you go through a relationship, you can be a little flimsy about it, like, oh, I'll stay, I'll go. I don't. But I think if you've had your heart broken, you come to a relationship with a different understanding of like people's hearts are precious. And if I don't like them anymore, if I want to break up or whatever that is, I'm gonna be really conscious about how I do that because if you haven't gone through that, you might be like, oh, it's not what it's a big deal. And I think that death has brought us even closer to our hearts, you
mm,
know?
mm,
So when your friend passed and you're rebuilding your relationship with God and you're rebuilding or redefining how you want your life to look like, right?
mm,
What were your train tracks? Like what were the things that you're like, okay, maybe that's when you discovered CrossFit, or maybe I'm going to like, what were the things that your emotional tools that supported you? Because you're in essence like rebuilding who you are and you're
yeah,
shedding stuff that,
yeah,
in this case, food and, drugs and substances or friends,
yeah.
and you're like, okay, I'm going to clean house.
Mm.
What did that journey look like? And what were the things that keep you safe and sane and strong?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Essentially, what I was doing was building a new model of myself, a new version of myself.
Yeah.
And so God is just such a merciful God, to us all, if we give God the opportunity, right? Open the door. And so I was really fortunate, in December of 2018. A very good friend of mine from college reached out and was like, there's this program. It's a personal development workshop. It's called Momentum Education. I think you would really benefit from it. And I was like, oh, I'm not interested. Like, I don't need any help. Like, this is a cult, blah, blah, blah. I decided to do the program. Best decision, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I say that because that is what started me on the path
Mm.
to stand up comedy. There was one exercise in particular that was called "What do you want?" And so imagine I'm in the middle of a circle surrounded by 50 people in like a conference room, and they're all whispering to me, "What do you want? What do you what do you think?" And I'm just bawling. And at the time, I'm like, I'm an entertainment lawyer. That's what I'm doing. That's what I want to do, and blah blah blah. And then I scream it out loud after like 25 times of them saying it because I'm like scared to say it.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to be the number one TV talk show host in America. And I never really said it out loud to anyone in public, right? Like my mom knew about it, but she's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that eventually, but let's stick with the law thing. Like you'll find your way to that eventually." um, and I couldn't believe I said it, and I was just like, and I was like, it's like making a decision, right? You're like, when you make a decision, you commit to the decision. You burn
Yeah.
the bridge to any other options.
You do. You have to let that shit go.
Yeah. You're like, I'm traveling a new course. This is where I'm going. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how, I don't know when, but this is where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking, okay, well, how have other people done it? So I was like, stand up comedy. I was like, you love being making people laugh. You're like, I'm like Shaq. Like I'm the big kid in the room. Like I'm playful, I
Yeah,
mess with
you
people.
are.
I'm like, so I was like, okay, let's start with stand up comedy. So I think 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do an open mic. I did an open mic, but the only open mic I could find was a competition. So I was like, damn, like you were really going for it. Like instead of starting with a regular open mic, you decided to do
Yeah,
a
like a little
competition.
chill, like little, it'll
Yeah,
be fine. It'll be
low
easy. Like a
stake.
little,
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna
I
go karaoke. No, we're
right.
not. Yeah.
No, we're not. We're going big or go home. I ended up winning the competition. The competition, one of the prizes aside from money was like I got to perform at another show,
So
and
cool.
just you're just meeting people, and they're like, "Oh, you're funny. You should do be on my. You should do this show." And then all these things start happening. But to answer your question, what has really like helped me get like have been the rails, so to speak, has been my personal development work.
Yeah.
And that has been in the form of momentum education. I have worked with the late great Bob Proctor. I was like the last group
Wow.
of people to be part of
No.
his.
Wait, tell me.
Yeah,
Was he like I love Bob Proctor on in person. What was the energy like?
I wasn't able to meet him. I did the program in April of 2021 is when I started, and then
Okay.
for a year. So
Yes.
this is like still COVID, right? So I wasn't.
Yeah.
No one was doing
Right, right,
it.
right, right.
It was all via Zoom. But the one thing that was so fortunate, I was able to have, and I have it recorded, a conversation with him, a Zoom conversation with him over the phone, because I was like, how do
Mooney.
I get to talk to Bob Proctor and have him advise me on like Hollywood and how to break into Hollywood and get our movie that we wrote, Butch Baby Mama, in front of the right people. That was just so magical, right? Um,
That is so cool.
yeah,
I love that story. I love a good Bob Proctor story. I think he's incredible.
he's so incredible, so wonderful. And then, working with his protege, Arash Vasugi, after he passed, like that was more recent. I started his program um, sometime in November because I'm a seeker. I
Yeah.
that's just, and I think seekers win. Because you constantly seekers are hungry. They're like you finish a program, you're like, what's next, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
looking to elevate yourself, upgrade your standards, elevate your standards, elevate your mindset. Um, I'm just always looking for ways to better myself.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. So that has been like a trail of or a track of like this is what has been holding me, right? Like this is what holds me as I grow. I think, in that when you're going from like A to B and the B is the unknown and you've never done the B,
right,
you need, there's God and the universe and all of our spirit guide in that world. And then there's the things that we do as humans. It's like it can be sleep, it
mentors,
can be working out, it can be the personal development, to the
yeah,
reading, friends,
yeah,
to be like, okay, I don't know if I don't know where I'm crossing, I don't know what that's going to look like, but this is my support system. I think doing it completely alone, I don't want to say it's impossible, but I think it makes the journey a lot harder and a lot lonelier rather than being like, okay, these are the tools that I know can help me get to the next level of me without sabotaging, without, making it a horrible journey that then when you get there, you're not enjoying it, that you're supporting yourself in that process.
Oh, 100%. I would never recommend for anyone to go through any journey. I mean, I'm going through a Hollywood journey. Everyone has their different path, like what they want to do, right, with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never going at it alone. You're just that's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I have
Mm-hmm.
no support outside of like this personal development world that I've created for myself and mentorship, right? I think having a mentor is incredibly important. I think it's good to have I have a comedic mentor, I have an acting mentor, I have
Yes.
a personal development mentor. We have my sister and I. We have a writing mentor. I mean, obviously, my sister being like my right hand, like just having her support. I mean, and she's so brilliant in her own right, and having my girlfriend and my close family and friends supporting me. New friends like yourself, like who
Mm-hmm.
see it, and we support each other. It's a symbiotic relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a one-way street. And just so I'm just very fortunate. I'm very blessed. I consider myself wealthy. Um,
Yes.
Everything else that will come will just be just add to the abundance that I already feel and experience in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I love in the theme of like, wealth. I talk often about like feminine wealth and how it's not just the financial with obviously money. It's great. We all want to be overflowing in actual money,
mhm,
but there's so many things in our lives that create wealth, like our friends and following our purpose and being true to ourselves and all those things that create wealth. And also in the feminine part is really following our intuition,
yeah,
and which is what you've done in your path since a little bird landed with your friend in the diner, and then you've been able to follow your path.
yeah.
Now in the journey of following your path, it's the craft, and I'm always like so curious how someone improves and strengthens their craft. I know that, and I had mentioned this to you when we were talking earlier, and I think I don't know, one of the big comedians is like, I need to write every day for like an hour, right?
Very
And thank you. Everybody talks about what do you do for your craft, So for you, you are a lawyer in essence by day, but you're also strengthening and mastering your craft as a comedian on your way. Like I love that you called it your Hollywood path. So how do you master your craft as you're doing all these other things in your life? Like what is that routine like for you?
Well, I always feel like I've been doing this 3.5 years, this pursuing this new road, and so I still feel like a student. Like like they're, so I'm constantly learning and constantly reworking the plan, so to speak. So for me, at this level, um, my goal is to write 30 minutes a day of comedy. 6
Yes,
days a week rather. I give myself Sunday to rest, right? I think it's important to give yourself a day to rest and
for
reflect,
sure.
right?
Integrate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a trifecta. The trifecta is acting, writing, and stand up. So my sister and I, we write from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. every Monday through Friday, right? Right now we're working on a Christmas movie, right? So that's the focus right now. We just finished a TV pilot. Everything's comedy, right? The comedy is our wheelhouse for now. And so that starts off my day, 30 minutes in the evening, joke writing. At this level, my goal was to get on stage 2 days a week, which consists of either a show or an open mic. 2025 goals elevate, right? 3 times a week now is going to be my new goal. So,
Yes.
inclusive of open mics or a show or a show. I'm in a weekly acting class, 3 hours a day, 3 hours a week, with the phenomenal Theo Davini. I mean, it's incredible how I met this guy. I'm watching the Gerard Carmichael show documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Theo. Gerard has a friend who is an aspiring actress, and then there's Theo as her acting coach. The note this man gave this woman was so deep that I was like, I put my little investigator hat.
I need to. Yeah.
I'm like, does this like I have to find this man. Lo and behold, he has an acting studio in West Orange, New Jersey. So every week I travel 2 hours one way to his acting
I
studio.
I love that. I love that resiliency and that grit and that commitment.
There are times, especially in the wintertime, and like I walk into class and he's like, Moonie, you're okay? And I was like, don't talk to me right now. I just sent fucking 2 hour traffic. Like, give me a moment to decompress. Like, I'll be ready. Just give me a second. Like, give me a beat. Give me a
I'm
snippet.
here. I made it.
Yeah. Like, I'm
I
like,
need some space.
I'm a bitch right now. Like, just give me a like, and then I get back to myself, but he's worth it. He's worth it. I'm worth it. More important.
Yeah. My dreams, your dreams are worth
It.
it.
And I'm so blessed. I have a car. I have the means to pay for Easy Pass. I have the means to pay for gas. Like, it's not like I've got to take trains, planes, and automobiles to get
Yeah.
there. So it's all about like shifting your perspective. It's like my motto is I get to. I
Yeah.
get to drive 2 hours after
Ugh.
working a full day, to be in this acting studio with these brilliant actors who I'm learning from. I'm not learning when I'm on. I'm learning while observing. I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
through his direction, through his notes. And so yeah, so that's pretty much I think I've covered yeah, that's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
the process of me
Mm-hmm.
getting up on stage and networking with comedians. I try to watch comedy. Try to watch um, 3 specials a week, comedy specials that are an hour long, with captions, right? Seeing how does this comedian conjure up a laugh? What did they say? How did they say it? Okay, so it's the delivery. Why did the audience respond to that joke? What is that about what he or she said or they said that was funny? Right? So it's like you're constantly what I like to call cracking the comedic code. Like that's what I'm doing. It's like I'm cracking this code. There's a code. There's a formula, and so
Mm.
that has been my process. I'm trying to
That
think.
is that's so inspiring though. I feel like when I'm talking to you and people that are really committed to their craft, there is such a discipline around it, There's such a commitment to the craft and therefore to you and therefore to your purpose and therefore to your dreams. And I'm a big believer that everything adds up. Like every action that we're taking adds up to you getting to your dreams.
Yeah,
It isn't like there was this one conversation and then this one show and then I met this one person and then now I have a show on Netflix. It's like, no, you've been working your craft with such discipline and commitment for years. And then there's the moment that it peaks and you get you sign the contract and then you're in a special on Netflix.
yeah,
But I think sometimes we're seeking for like the Netflix and there's not like that foundation of the commitment of getting to that point. You need both. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. You sometimes it feels like it comes out of nowhere, but no, there's this commitment that you have to your craft. And I think when I think about all of your accomplishments, you've always been committed. So you've done so much in the 3.5 years, which really I think it's so many more years because you've been yourself. But in the short 3 years that you've actually said, this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing, you've accomplished so much because of listen to you. Look how committed you are to where you want to get to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Commitment is huge. I mean, the people that you see with these Netflix specials, they've been doing comedy 10 plus years, right? Sometimes
Decades.
decades, right? And for me, like I love breaking. I want to break paradigms. Like with comedy, like they talk about, oh, you've got to be doing comedy for 10 years to really until.
Oh, same. Yes.
And I don't subscribe to that belief. Like Roger Bannister, right? He was the first person that we know of to break the 4 minute mile, right? He did
Mm-hmm.
mile in 4 minutes. Before that time, man had not done that, right? And so like people think like, oh, I've got to be doing comedy for 10 years until I get my big break. And
Mm-mm.
I don't I don't subscribe.
Mm-mm.
I don't. Like I want to be the Roger Bannister of comedy, right? I'm
Yes.
the
Oh,
person that, gets that big break, whatever, that big show that, whatever it is, a talk show, whatever. In 5 years, why not? It's all possible,
yeah.
right?
It's all possible, and you're showing up for your dreams daily. You
Right.
know, like he was probably running all the
No,
time and doing all the right things to get him there. So it's not like you're thinking, I want to break the paradigm and I'm just going to sit here and like hang out. It's like, no, I will break the paradigm and I'm showing up every single day for it to be broken.
right, right.
So it makes sense that it will, because you have a commitment towards being broken. You're not just like expecting it's going to come knocking on your door without it working on it. Because also when you get to your Netflix show and being the number one TV host, you need to have the energy and the confidence in order to hold the space for millions of people to be watching you. You know, if we don't have that confidence and that energy within yourself to hold the foundation for that, that also won't happen because it doesn't add up energetically.
That's why I love the work that I do with my personal development work because, and also CrossFit, right? Like these are things that like you will never make the connection that your personal development is going to like help you be a better comedian. It'll help you be a better actor, a better writer. Because I'm working on my self image and elevating how I view myself. I'm working on my confidence, building my confidence. I'm working on elevating my mindset,
Mm-hmm.
um, my focus, my discipline.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things bleed into acting, writing, stand
Mm-hmm.
and also like CrossFit. I love CrossFit more so what it does for my mind than anything because
Yes.
I'm giving my mind a command. Pick up that weight. Even though my body's like, we just picked up the weight 25
Yeah.
times.
No,
Now,
thank you.
are you psychotic? Like, no. But it's like when I tell my mind to do it, my mind tells my body to do it rather. And I love that because it bleeds into other areas of my life. Do you think I'm not a morning person? I don't want to wake up at 5:15 to be on a call at 5:30. I really don't want to do that and write things.
Yeah.
It's like I don't,
Yeah.
but I give myself a command and
And you do it.
I do it.
And you have to train yourself for that. Like, I'm not negotiating with myself to go
Yeah.
to the gym every morning. I'm not negotiating with myself to wake up early. This is what we do. I remember when I started to with my daughter, we bed share, which basically means she sleep with us. And at the beginning, I was trying to figure out like, okay, how do I run my business and also be like a really present mom? I was breastfeeding and all the things. And I'm a morning person. I love like 4:30, 4 a.m. It
Yep.
is like heaven for me. But at the beginning, she was waking up a lot and breastfeeding and all the things. So I would end up staying late. Like I would be up until like 2 in the morning because I would work from like 10 to 2 in the morning and do all the little things you have to get done.
Mhm.
And then I would wake up at 7 with her. And I was like, that is no longer like that doesn't work for me because that's not how I operate. So then I was like, okay, in order for me to wake up in my beloved 4:30 morning, I have to go to bed with her when she goes to bed at 7:30. Literally, Moonie, I go to bed at like 7:38. And for the longest time, I'm like, yeah, but then I want to watch TV or I want to read or I want to be with my
It's your
husband.
time.
It's my time. And then I would argue with myself. Like I would be happy that I would be going to bed early because I knew I could then get up early. But for the longest time, I would kind of be like resentful that I'm like, I don't want, like, I also, what is my me time? And then at some point, I'm like, listen, you're either going to bed at 8 so you can wake up at 4, or you're
Mhm.
going to bed at 10 and you wake up at 6.
Mhm.
But I don't operate on 4 hours of sleep. So one of them is gonna get a give. And once I stop negotiating and I'm like, I'm in bed by 8, my husband and I will have other times to hang out. I will watch TV whenever, or this is not a season of TV in my life, right? 4 a.m. is more important. Then the 8 p.m. became just like I treasured it. I'm like, this is so nice because I get to wake up. But you have to make decisions, you have to commit, and there can be a negotiation period where you want something, but you're not willing to commit to that final result. Is really the part that I feel like is so important for people to understand. There's one final thing I want to talk about. I mean, there's so many things. It's been so good, but I want to talk slightly about, I don't know if how slightly this is going to be, but I want to talk about culture, right? Because Haitian culture, and I've gotten to know understand it so much better from, my friendship with Melissa and all the things, but Caribbean, right? So I was also born in Venezuela, and there's a lot of part of the culture that, is family and family first. And there's a lot of like love within our community. And there's also certain like invisible rules. You have to stay within this little square because everything else maybe feel threatened, or things have not, we haven't done that before as a culture. And I'm super inspired by you breaking so many of the square, in order to honor your purpose. So how do you reconcile being unique and speaking your truth and your purpose and wearing the colors of the rainbow, literally, figuratively, and like as you walk through life, while also honoring your culture and knowing that there's a possibility that some people in your own culture and society might not be cool with it, right? Like it's also what is. So how do you navigate a little bit of that, because that can feel heavy at times?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, the key is that I start by honoring myself first.
Yeah.
In the business and of tap dancing for people. You either
Yeah.
are with me or you're not. It's not even
Yeah.
against me. You're just, it's either you get me or you don't, right? And so at this stage of my life, I'm really into just honoring me, honoring Moonie. And if you want to come along on this wild and fun journey, then the more the merrier. But if you don't, there's another train behind us, right? You can catch that train, but this train is heading this way. So, I know it's not like the most welcoming answer, or, may sound a little harsh to some people, but like it all started with my coming out, right? That was a really defining moment for me. And that set the stage and set the tone for the rest of my life, because it's like, I'm going to thine own self be true, right? I'm going to be
Mm.
myself in and through whatever life throws at me. Um, and so I think that's a place where we should all be, is honoring thyself. I'm not saying honor yourself if you've got murderous tendencies, or if you're a pedophile. That's not what I'm talking
Do
about.
not be ordered. Do not honor yourself if that's
Yeah,
the
do not
case.
honor yourself in those ways, right? Like, get some
Yeah.
help, whatever, seek help, whatever, figure it out. But if you are doing good in the world, if you are spreading love, joy, light, compassion, I mean, you can't lose, right? How can you lose,
No.
right?
No.
So the people who are going to be there and support you are going to be there and support you, and those who aren't, then they won't. And so let the chips fall where they may.
And maybe it just comes with like wisdom of life, even right now. So in college, I also came out. And I, people ask me are often about like my own, sexuality and being bisexual and all the things. And because I have a husband and I got married and all the things. And I'm like, marriage doesn't define my sexuality, like it's just a path, but that doesn't take away from who you are as a person. And I think sometimes that gets confused, like once you commit to a man, or more like traditional ways when it comes to relationships, then somehow you like forget who you are as a person. And it's no, it's just a path that you've chosen, but the sexuality in and of itself doesn't change. And I remember when I was telling my parents, like, and I was also probably in like my early 20s, being so nervous about it, because you don't know how they're going to respond. And I think deeply inside, like I probably knew, but you really also don't know because nobody in your family has done it before. And like being from where I'm at, I'm sure there's a ton of, you know, bisexual queer Venezuelan population, but it's not something that like is open or necessarily accepted in many ways. And I can probably tell you every decade that I'm like, oh, this has happened. And I don't know how my parents are going to react or how my family is going to react. And I have to go for it, you know? Even so silly as like tattoos. I have a ton of tattoos. Nobody in my family has tattoos. And
Hatred,
or
anti-tattoos. Like I never got one because I was always afraid. I was like,
yes.
be ostracized any more than I am. Like
Yes. I'm gay, I'm
I
queer, I
know.
have tattoos, I'm a
Like, I'm
comedian.
like, yeah, I'm left-handed. Like God, like
I'm, I'm left-handed. Too much.
oh my God.
But you know, like you have like to your point, like there's another train. And I think even as we have life experience and we're like, you know what, I'll be fine. Sometimes it is still scary. You know, like sometimes I have
Sure.
to say something that I'm like, I'm gonna speak my truth. And I'm like, am I? Should
Right.
I? You know,
Tomorrow I will. Tomorrow I will speak
the world will know.
January 1st. I promise. Ah,
And it's like, will
ah.
they?
Yeah.
You
It's
know, so
tough.
I
It
think
takes a
it's
lot of courage. It takes a lot of
it takes a lot of courage. And for me, the courage was like amplified with my daughter when I'm like, listen, she's biracial baby and she's already going to have a woman, biracial, you know, like you again, you can look at the lack or the positive. But this little girl, she's fucking gonna know who she is. And she's also going, I need to model that for her. So I think
yeah,
anytime I want to play small and
yeah,
I'm like, well, fuck, my daughter's gonna know because she saw that from her mom, you know, and that has given me this like mountain of courage that anytime I want to like dim my light, there's a little girl watching, you know? So that has like, and I think that your mom is a lot like that for you, right?
oh
Like
yeah,
mom is watching. I'm gonna get on that stage.
yeah. I think that's such a great point. Like this theme of courage, right? Being courageous is so important in life. I think if you want to achieve your dreams, I don't know anybody who's achieved their dreams who was not courageous, right? So for me, you've got to decide, and I think it's a subjective, it's a personal thing, right? Like this personal sort of well that you have to draw from. For me, what gives me courage is like to get on stage because it's scary. It's so fucking scary. Like, don't think that I am devoid of courage or fearless. Like I am so fearful of going on that stage. Like every time, and
Mm-hmm.
um, but what gives me the courage to do it is knowing that I'm gonna die one day. That is what gives me the courage. I'm gonna be on my deathbed one day because it's a fact of life. We're all you gotta die to get out of here. That's right.
Yes.
So that's what gives me the courage to get on that stage, to do what I do, is knowing I'm gonna die one day. And
Mm.
I want to limit my regrets, right?
Mm.
They're gonna be
Yeah.
regrets. We're human, but I want to limit them.
Yeah.
So um yeah, and you have and you've drawn from the well that of courage that you've defined for yourself, and everyone's gonna have to define what that well is for themselves.
Yeah, when you get a little wobbly, I'm gonna grab from this and I'm gonna walk through the line.
Yeah,
So a couple more questions before we wrap up. I want to learn about I have two more questions. I want to learn about any priest, like before you go on stage, if you have like any fun, they don't have to be fun, but any sort of like rituals or prayers or like, you know, something before you go on stage. Like I'm always curious, people that are performing all the time, like what's like I used to teach spinning pre-pandemic. I want to go back because that was always so fun. But you're still in front of like 45 people for like 45
yeah,
minutes and you got to like pump people up
yeah,
and sometimes people are like not paying attention, or they're like, for you, might be like they're not clapping or they booing you off stage.
yeah,
And like you still gotta stay up there. So I'm like, well, I would call my mom and my angels. I'd be
yeah.
like, all right, we're gonna do the thing. So for you, like, you know, how do you prepare? And then I guess like a bullet point after that, when you get the booze, how do you support yourself in those moments? Because also that doesn't ever get easier, even if you're like, fuck you in the back, like whatever. Like for you, when somebody's not giving you that, like there has to be a moment that you tune them out and you're like, I'm gonna stay in my heart.
Yeah. So I'll answer the second part of your question first. So what I do is I think I just make fun of myself. I'll be like, oh, that joke needs work, or you know. I was like, "Oh, my girlfriend laughed at that, but clearly she doesn't know what she's talking about because you guys aren't laughing." So I just make fun of myself. I make fun of myself, or if I feel like they're really not getting it, then I'll just start riffing with the audience. I'll just start, you know.
Pull from them a little
And
bit.
like try to find some funny moments like with, the people in the audience because clearly
Yeah.
throwing at them they're not receiving.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of it is just making fun of yourself, making fun of the joke, how it's not working, just being honest, being true,
Yeah.
finding the honesty in the moment, right? Um, and in terms of like my pre-rituals before
Yeah.
stage, I have a contract with myself and the world, and that is that I'm a powerful, loving, and connected leader. So I remind
Mm,
myself of that before I get on stage. And I just remind myself to be relaxed because you can't create when there's a lot of tension and chaos going on. So I remind myself to be relaxed and I remind myself to have fun. As Serena Williams' father always reminded his daughter before they got on that court, just to have fun.
yeah.
And the last thing I do before I get on stage is I invite my mom and my ancestors and my angels to come on stage with me and God to
Yes. Hell
guide,
yes.
guide me through the set.
Yeah, I love that. So the final question, where did your nickname Moonie came? How did that all come about?
Wow. So Moonie, my grandmother, Janine, named me when I was 3 weeks old. And I would ask her, I'm like, Grandma, like, and then it just stuck. Like everyone in my family, close friends, that's my name. And I was like, you know what? Like, I can't bring my government name on stage. Like that's the lawyer, right? That's boring. I have to find my Sasha Fierce, my Slim Shady, my alter
Yes.
ego, right? And so Mooney is always like the prankster, the big kid, like the stacking, right? Like my nieces and nephews, like their parents, like they hate when I'm around because I get the kids riled up. Like I get sugar. Like they can't stand when I'm around. They're like, "Oh, Mooney, like you're gonna babysit them. You're gonna watch them after." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm going home. That's on you." Like,
I'm the fun aunt.
yeah,
Yeah.
can't. Like so. That's just what I do. So we were talking about um my nickname. And so
Hmm.
I was just like, that's just, it's Mooney. It can't,
Yeah. So
you know,
your grandma just, yeah.
3 weeks old. And I'm like, Grandma, so was it? Was I mooning people? Was it like my moon face, like the shape, She's like, I don't know, Mooney. I see you. I see Mooney. This is my nickname. I love it. I'm like, perfect. That's just what
I will honor you.
I
And
will
also
honor
it
you.
is very like a playful,
Yeah.
like it's just like a playful nickname. Like you want to have fun with a Moonie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to be the lawyer Moonie. We'll
No,
say with, yes,
yeah.
your legal name. This is the fun Moonie. I love that. That's so good. Listen, before I ask a question before we close out every episode, but for our true final question, what are you up to now? How do people find you? Are you performing? Do you share it on your Instagram if people want to see you live? Tell us all that good community things.
Yes, so you can follow me on IG at Moonie, M as in Mary, OON as in Nancy, IE with 9 underscores. I want like
Literally.
literally 9 underscores. I wanted it to be a little challenging for the GED folks. Underscores, what is an underscore? Yeah, so I post all my upcoming shows there. Um, And so you can follow me, find out what I'm doing, what we're up to next. In terms of shows coming up in January, I think I have one booked January 11th that's tentative, and I'm in a festival coming up, Black Women in Comedy Laugh Festival coming up in February. I have a show in Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland. So I'm actually traveling for comedy in Maryland in March. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, there's so much
So cool.
coming up, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, follow her. I'll link it in the show notes. And also your Instagram is just like a perfect combination of obviously comedy and all the things, but to feel good. Like I think you're always posting things about like personal growth or feel good or like follow your intuition. And it's like a space that you know you're going to feel good whether you're laughing or whether you're being, validated for who you are in your journey. So I love your account. You have like always really fun things going on there. To wrap up, I'm always asking our guest, what is making you feel joyfully empowered in your life today?
Wow. What is making me feel joyfully empowered? Um, excuse me. Just this like new road that I'm traveling on. Like again, like when you were just doing my intro, I just was like, is she talking about me? Like what? Like to this day, like I pinch myself. I'm like, I can't believe I'm a complete 180 from where I was 3.5 years ago. And so, what's making me joyfully empowered is this just the road that I'm traveling on, bringing laughter and joy and levity to strangers, people in an audience,
Mm,
in any room that I find myself in. My purpose, you know, knowing my purpose. I have such a strong knowing in my purpose, in the
yeah.
missions that God sent me here to accomplish. Because I feel like we all have missions that we are sent here to accomplish. And part of why we're here is to figure out what those are. And so the fact that I
Yes.
know what those are, it makes me feel joyfully empowered. And again, Haiti being that big why for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just I just leaving just such a positive lasting impact in that country with those people. I don't know where it came from. I know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just grateful that it's here. And just the love in my life, that self-love first, and the love that I have with my close family and friends, my girlfriend, and just with a stranger. You can
Yeah.
stranger. I don't believe in the idea of strangers. I just say it because it's how we've been conditioned, but we're all connected.
Mm,
Feel and just connecting with anyone makes me feel joyfully empowered. Inspiring
mm,
people, motivating people,
mm-hmm.
inspiring them to pivot, that they can pivot at any point in their lives, at any age, and because that's what I believe, and that's a big part of our brand, the Moonie brand. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you've done. That's what you've done. Like, yeah, pivoted and like stayed true to your heart and your intuition while making people laugh. If you get a chance, everybody listening, to see Mooney wherever she may be performing in the nation, in the world, please make it a point. She is funny. Her energy is just absolutely like magnetic. You want to stay in her presence. Thank you for joining us today, Mooney. This has been so much fun. I love hearing about your journey and all the things, and I'm excited to see you soon, hopefully in a stage, so you can make me laugh and I can be in that beautiful energy you bring.
Oh, thank you so much, Steph, for having me. I really appreciate it.